Nintendo game Metroid.
Oh my God.
That little boy sure seemed happy to get Metroid for the NES for Christmas that year. I should know because that little boy was me 30 years ago. I'm Taylor T. Carlson and I'm back with another video for you. I've been editing my family's home movies over the course of the last year and a half, and of course plenty of birthdays and Christmases there. I absolutely adore video games, so it shouldn't surprise you in the least that those are a lot of what I got over the years. So for today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 birthday and Christmas video game gifts that I ever got. Now I'm limiting this to software and hardware. I'm not including accessories, I'm not including video game related clothing, I'm not including like tote bags and things like that. Strictly software and hardware. I have enough video clips that I might do a second one later on, and I might be a little more open with that one. And I'm going to show the clips of me getting these items for my birthday and Christmas. However, I don't have clips for every single thing because for whatever reason, I either couldn't find the video for certain birthdays or Christmases, or they just plain weren't filmed. Also, the gifts received here, if they're Christmas gifts, they have to be gifts that were for me exclusively and not shared by me and my brother. I'll make an exception for consoles because there are going to be plenty of those on this list, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Rockman and Forte. Wow. It's not really just the box.
At number 10 on this list we have Rockman and Forte. This was a Mega Man game that was never released in America until it eventually was ported to the Game Boy Advance and released here under the name Mega Man in Base. Essentially, this is the spiritual successor to Mega Man 7, although it's actually a sequel to Mega Man 8, and it has 2 playable characters, a lot of items you can buy, plenty of challenges. It's maybe a little too hard in places, but this actually is one of my favorite games in the Mega Man franchise. And you definitely want to get this original Japanese NES version because the Game Boy Advance version is poorly translated into English, and on top of that, the screen is too small and you find yourself dying for that reason alone.
Cool! Look what I got, Kyle! I know.
For number 9, we have The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It seems like every system has the 1 or 2 masterpiece games that I couldn't pull myself away from. On the Super NES, A Link to the Past certainly holds that title. After the side-scrolling RPG elements of Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, those were largely eschewed, and this game went back to the top-down style of the original NES Zelda, but it made the world much larger and had a much more expansive environment as well as plenty of challenges. This will still rank near the top of many people's list of the best Zelda games, and for me, that's certainly no exception. Now let's move on down to number 8.
How about this black thing? How is that?
Excellent.
That's good?
At number 8 on this list, we have the PlayStation 2. The original PlayStation certainly revolutionized the gaming industry and showed that Nintendo wasn't the only game in town, and the PlayStation 2 basically took everything to the next level. It was one of the longest lasting consoles on the market of recent memory. It had a ton of games in every genre, and I really don't think anyone that ever has owned a PS2 has ever been bored with it. It's one of my favorite systems of all time, and I was certainly lucky to get one for Christmas that year along with my brother. And now let's go on to number 7.
This is virtual light at Santa brought it, but it's not my hat. And it comes with Mario stickers. And they also make it.
At number 7, we have the Nintendo Virtual Boy. That was actually my brother holding it in the video. I hope he doesn't kill me for putting him in this YouTube video segment. This was a failed experiment for Nintendo that didn't last very long on store shelves. It was quickly aborted. It's probably more famous for that time I took the one that we got for Christmas and I sold it on Pawn Stars on national television. You can look up that clip online. A few people have posted it actually, and even if you watch later Pawn Stars episodes, you can still see it in the glass showcase in the pawn shop. I do like this system, don't get me wrong, but it obviously wasn't the huge success Nintendo or consumers were really hoping for. Let's move on down the list to number 6. At number 6 on the list, we have the PlayStation or as it's now known retroactively, the PlayStation 1. Now, my brother and I had largely been strictly Nintendo people for years and years, but all these games we wanted were only coming out on this new system, the Sony PlayStation, so of course we had to ask for it for Christmas. And thanks to my parents, who always gave us very good Christmases, we got one. And right from the get-go, we were getting all kinds of games, like the new installments in series like, Street Fighter, Mega Man, and a lot of franchises that were exclusive to that system as well, including Final Fantasy VII, largely after Square had parted ways with Nintendo, although you do see a lot of Square games on Nintendo systems again since then. This was a major step in a different direction in the video gaming world in the best way, and it proved to me that it was okay to play a system that wasn't a Nintendo system. Although, ironically, the PlayStation was originally going to be a CD-ROM add-on for the Super Nintendo, but I'm not going to get into that story here because that's a story for another day, not to mention you can find it elsewhere online. Now let's move on to number 5.
It's a Nintendo, it's Mario Free!
All right, hey!
This is the game I've always been wanting.
At number 5 on our list, we have Super Mario Bros. 3. You can tell how excited I was when I was a little boy and I got this on my birthday morning. Hands down the best of the 3 NES Mario games. This is the one that just took everything to the next level. I remember seeing this for the first time in the movie The Wizard and just wanting to play it so badly. And for months and months, we had to go over to the rental place and see if they had it, and we rented it a few times. And then finally, I got it for my birthday in 1990, and it's one of the games that I played the absolute most on the NES. To this day, it remains one of my favorite video games of all time. Of course, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you probably have the same opinion there. And now we're going on to number 4.
It's a super, oh my God!
What is it?
What is it? No.
At number 4, of course, we have the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The day Nintendo took everything to the next level and entered the 16-bit world, giving the Sega Genesis the challenge they needed, eventually triumphing. The Super Nintendo is quite possibly my favorite of all of Nintendo's home consoles. This is one that you absolutely could not compete with, and it really demonstrated Nintendo's dominance, at least until the Sony PlayStation came around a few years later. The system came with Super Mario World at the time of launch, and I remember going over to Target with my mom and brother and having to stand in line to play the demo console that they had there, and obviously I was very excited when I finally got my hands on this. The Super Nintendo, easily one of the greatest video game systems ever made, with a sprawling catalog covering all kinds of genres. And now we're going to go on to number 3. At number 3 on our list, we have the original Nintendo Game Boy. I believe I got this for the Christmas of 1990, but I either couldn't find our video of Christmas of 1990, or it just plain wasn't filmed. I think it was the Christmas of 1990 I got this, because I remember playing this religiously in cars on road trips. It's the thing that made road trips bearable. My brother and I played the hell out of this thing, and of course, we were fighting because we couldn't really share very well as children, but even right from the beginning, there were games like Tetris, which came with the system, Super Mario Land, Dr. Mario, and a whole lot of licensed and third-party games too. The Game Boy continued to outdo more powerful systems like the Sega Game Gear, and it remained largely the dominant handheld on the market, at least until Nintendo put out later iterations. Now let's look at number 2 on this list.
This?
Nintendo Action Set.
Oh boy, isn't that going to be fun?
At number 2 on this list, we have the Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. I got this for my 5th birthday in 1989, and this is pretty much where my whole love affair with video games began. My grandmother's house had one of these for the grandkids to play, so we'd always play it when we went up there, and when I got one of my own for my birthday that year, I was ecstatic. The game it came with was the combo cart of Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and of course it came with the Zapper, the original gray Zapper before they put out the orange one, and I played these games to death. To this day, I still play the original Super Mario Brothers to death. It's a personal favorite, and I don't think that's ever going to change. it was hard to organize this list, and I was left over with a lot of things. And why don't we go on to number 1 now? The only thing that I could actually rank higher on this list than the NES.
What's starting a lot of boxes? A Donkey Kong Country competition cartridge. Is that the one that you can? Yeah. You must order those both from the same one.
Yeah, I must have.
Mom, you need that one.
What?
At number 1 on the list, of course, I have the Donkey Kong Country competition cartridge. They only made 2,500 of these. They were very rare. You could only get them through the Nintendo Power catalog. They'd been used earlier in the year in the World Blockbuster Video Game Tournament. I actually played one of these in store for said tournament. And I think I still have a pin that I got from that tournament around somewhere. I'll show that off if I can find it later. But I stupidly sold this many years ago for a pretty cheap price. Now I find out they're like, super rare. And I've been kicking myself ever since because it's easily the most valuable, rarest video game related thing I've ever owned. You probably think I'm a bonehead for this, and honestly, I would have to agree with you. What is your all-time favorite video game gift you've ever received for a birthday or Christmas? Comment down below and share your thoughts with me. Also remember to like this video if you found it helpful or interesting, and subscribe to my channel because I'm always releasing new content. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I'll see you next time.